What's going on, y'all? Hope you're having an awesome day. Today, I want to talk about what is going on in the world. What's up with all this new technology, the AI, just self-driving cars? It seems like things are accelerating quick, right? I know my wife and I, we were talking about recently how 5,000 years ago, people communicated by letter, traveled by horseback. 3,000 years ago, same thing. 1,000 years ago, same thing. 150 years ago, same thing. So what happened in the last 150 years where the car, not only we have cars, but they drive themselves now. And it's just getting crazy, right? Well, this is my world. This is my wheelhouse. This is where I have always lived. My mind has always been curious and I've always asked questions like that. But what I find amazing is there's a time period that has been called the Great Awakening that has been prophesied for a long time. And it seems like it's happening now because people in general seem to be really curious about these things. There's a shift. It's to the point where people are starting to look around and the world is changing so fast, they're wondering what's going on. Even as busy as we are with our day-to-day lives, people are still noticing it. And I can just tell you, a lot of things. This is one of those videos. It's not so much on the scriptural end, but you're gonna have to just do some research. All right, but I can tell you that just from I guess it is scriptural because a lot of what I figure out that is going on in the world is because I've seen it in the scriptures, and so I'm always kind of scanning and I see certain things and I go, that got to pay attention to that, right? And you can clearly tell in the book of Revelation. In the end times, it's going to require a lot of advanced technology to make that happen, right? We definitely understand that one thing that's going to be required is a one world government. And the reason for that is, simply because in order for there to be one entity ruling the world, evil ruling the world, there has to be a universal place where an order can be put out and it goes to the world. As of right now, the American president can say one thing, the president of Vietnam can say one thing, the president of Russia and China, they're all separate. We have our own currencies, we have our own languages. That cannot work, right? There has to be a one world system. And every time the enemy does something, it always starts off as good. It always solves a problem. Oftentimes they create the problem so they can solve it, but it's always going to start off as good. And then once everybody accepts it to get the relief and that problem solved, then usually the clamps start to come down, right? That's how I knew cryptocurrency was going to be a huge thing because it tracks everything you do, right? It tracks everything you do. And I've understood how the monetary system works from when I was much younger. I always knew that we printed money from thin air. It used to be backed by gold. There was a real value. We kept the gold in Fort Knox. It used to get audited. I believe it was in 1971. President Nixon took us off the gold standard, meaning our money is no longer backed by anything. And then they stopped auditing the gold in Fort Knox. And it's just, it was just backed by the word of the American people, the world currency. Everyone just took our word for it because who was going to storm America and check our vaults to make sure we had what we said we had? You know what I mean? And then the money printing started and the inflation got out of control. There's always been inflation. That's why soda used to cost 5 cents. Then it was 50 cents. It's $1. I don't know how much it costs now, probably $10. But inflation continues to increase and eventually hyperinflation happens and the system can literally break. And overnight, which is also in Revelation, where it talks about a loaf of bread costing a day's wages, right? It sounds like that's talking about hyperinflation. And that's happened in countries before. You can look up Zimbabwe and there's videos of people taking wheelbarrows of cash to buy things, because their money hyperinflated. And I believe the average lifespan of a currency is about 250 years. Typically, whoever has the world reserve currency runs the world because it gives you incredible leverage and power. It's a very strong negotiating tool. Before us, it was the UK, and I believe before them it was France. And there's been many world powers. It's always changed over time. The Bible talks about that. The dream of, I believe Nebuchadnezzar had with the statue that it had parts made of bronze and stone and different metals, and they represented different kingdoms over time. And those are actually principalities fighting with each other. And they each, have the throne and control things at one time. Demonic spirits, actually. Eventually, I want to get into the story of how God just bushwhacked all of them from the Tower of Babel, because I think it's amazing how he literally just, when he split those tribes up, when they sinned at the Tower of Babel and they wanted to, what they were trying to do is obviously not build a tower to heaven, but they were building a way to communicate with the other realm and opening a portal that was not meant to be open. And God he gave them all their own language and took away their ability to communicate, which is why the devil loves to divide. That's why his number one tool is division, because he's never ever had his own idea. He just copies what God does. God divided all the people, and he's been doing it ever since, through racism, through Democrats versus Republicans, through poor versus rich, you name it. He just likes to slice the pizza as many ways as he can get humanity to do it, and we fall for it every time, because he understands if we ever unite, it's over for him, because that's where our power is. We're the body of Christ. So getting all the way back to technology, moving very quickly. The reason why technology is moving so quickly is because there are certain things that are needed for him to enact his final plan. But God in his genius kind of always tricks him, He can see the beginning from the end. So one thing I can think of is definitely the internet, right? The internet was actually created at CERN. And that's a huge base underground. It's a hadron particle collider. It shoots particles at each other at the speed of light, opens portals, super demonic spiritual stuff going on. I believe it's under like 2 or 3 different countries. You can look it up. I'm sure a lot of you kind of know what CERN is, but it goes pretty deep. But the internet was actually created at CERN, and eventually they released it to the people. And I believe the internet is one of those things where it was needed in order to enact the end goal, but in releasing it, it actually really empowered God's people, because so many things that you could never predict, because of the creativity God gave mankind, we created things that the enemy never saw coming. One of the best ones we've had recently is obviously independent media, podcasts and things like that. We saw during this last election, the president was able to pretty much do most of his media tour on just like podcasts and, smaller media outlets, because they have such a voice now, because people are so tired of being lied to and being fed agendas. But there's so many things that have been built on the internet that have it created what's called a decentralized system, meaning there's no central authority, and that is something that the enemy has always used, right? If you want to be famous, you have to go to the record companies, which are the centralized entity that gives music contracts and can put you on the radio. But when the internet came out, now you have Apple Music and Spotify, and anyone can now release their music, and it took away that power that they had. And it's like that with almost everything. It's the same with the Department of Education. That's why they're trying to get rid of centralized entities, because if you want to indoctrinate people with a belief, like Christopher Columbus discovered America, even though there's already people here, you just put it in the curriculum and everybody learns it. It's a centralized system. They're very dangerous because you can control everything from one place. That's why there needs to be a one world government. It'll be the centralized of all centralized. So cryptocurrency, it's the thing that's supposed to be so great about it is it's decentralized. It is a great deception. The people the early Bitcoiners that love Bitcoin so much love it because they think they're going to sock it to the government and destroy the government and get out of that monetary system and the bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, that's not federal at all. It's a private entity that somehow, it's a group of people, no one knows who they are, and they lend money to the American people and the American government. Well, who are these people that's lending us trillions of dollars that they just print, and how did they get that power? So they're on the right track. They like crypto because they want to get rid of that system. They want to get out of it. But you have to ask yourself, where did it come from? Where did crypto come from? The Bitcoin white paper was created, I believe it was in 2009, but I do know it was on Halloween, red flag. Some guy named Satoshi Nakamoto created it. No one's ever met this guy. He was just communicating through the internet with people. He got it started. And then once it gained enough steam to where there were other developers and everything, this dude just disappeared. You can still see his Bitcoin wallet on the blockchain. He's like one of the richest people in the world because the price has gone up so much and no one knows who he is. But yet before Bitcoin was ever created, there's 3-letter agency white papers that talk about the creation of cryptocurrency. So chances are that it was created by the powers that be, hook, line, and sinker, and the people took it. Now, I'm not saying it's all bad. I definitely invest in it. But what I'm saying is that I saw, based on the way it was created, how it can track everything, that it's going to be a good thing initially. It's probably going to solve a lot of problems, make a lot of people wealthy, but eventually, the hammer's going to drop. So it's a wealth transfer. It's an opportunity to enrich yourself, but you want to take those gains and you want to buy things of real value, things like precious metals, things like land. Land is a big one. you know, so you're able to grow your own food. At the end of the day, you have to think about what you really need to live and be happy. And you want to get as close to the source of those things as possible. You don't just want money, you know, because if you don't have anything to spend your money on, or if it's not available, or if you now have digital money like cryptocurrency, where if you're not following the rules that they want you to follow, they can turn it off and you can't buy anything with it like it says in Revelation. That's going to be a problem for you. You know what I'm saying? And we're starting to see that now with the cancel culture. You know, they'll take away your platform if you say things that they don't like. If you talk about certain viruses that happened, if you say what they're called, your video gets demonetized. And these are kind of tests and little subtle, you know, they allude to what might happen eventually. Now, I believe this is going to die down because people are rising up and God is really being gracious with us and he's giving us an opportunity to get it right. But, you know, eventually these things must come. So, you know, I just wanted to get your mind thinking. I wanted to point out some things to you about what's going on in the world because we get so bogged down. You know, we don't stop and just look at what's going on. But I'm super inspired that so many people are starting to wake up and ask questions and care. And it's kind of crazy to me. It's surreal because this is nothing new. This has been going on for a long time, but people are really starting to notice it and wake up. And like I said, I believe that our power is in unity. So the fact that people are uniting and gaining knowledge and starting to understand what's going on, it's a really good sign for the future. And I know a lot of people think it's the end. I personally don't. I think we're about to go into the greatest revival we've ever seen. I really do think we're about to go into a golden age. I think there's going to be lots of discoveries, and a lot of these things were already discovered, but they're going to get released. As we see, there's a lot of things that are starting to get released, all types of secret documents and files about assassinations and things like that. And, you know, they have the ability to make cars run on water. You know, they have all types of fuel sources. Nikola Tesla, the original Tesla guy, he created like a little box that could power your whole house for free. You know, he created the ability to wirelessly transmit electricity. And I believe GE got a lot of his patents, a lot of his work. They just like took all his stuff, you know, and he was gone. And I believe those patents ended up with GE, and then eventually you see those wireless charging pads that came out recently. You put your phone on it and it charges wirelessly. That technology is from Tesla, the original Tesla. It's not new. You know, there's so much available that we don't even know about. But a lot of that stuff is going to come out. Some of it's going to be brand new fuel sources. Another thing to pay attention to is the space race. All right, you have to ask yourself, why are all the billionaires trying to get to outer space? Richard Branson that owned Virgin Mobile, he has some type of company that goes to outer space. You know, obviously we know about Elon Musk and SpaceLink. And then also, you may not know, but the guy that owns Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he also, you're gonna have to look up the name of it, but he also has a business that goes to outer space. And what I've found is that there's unique elemental structures of certain materials in outer space, meteorites and things like that. They have a different molecular bond. So you're able to do things with them that you can't even do with materials on Earth. And who knows where that's going to end up, you know, but it always starts off as good, you know. So just stay prayed up, stay aware, always try to be vigilant of what's going on. And you don't have to know all this stuff, you know, all the stuff that I know. I just take an interest in it. It's just the way God created me. But that's why we have watchmen. When you do want to learn, there's always going to be someone out there that's talking about it, because that's how I learned. A lot of that stuff started getting cleared, and there's some videos I wish I could find. When YouTube started really getting on to you know, they just wiped a lot of stuff. There used to be people that worked in certain places that were just on here talking, and the stuff they were saying was mind-blowing. But it's hard to repeat that stuff without being able to point to the source, and a lot of those things are gone. But like I said, just stay prayed up. Don't ever let fear come upon you, because you have to remember what you're connected to. We're connected to God, and we are absolutely protected. So I will talk to you guys later. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and start to look out for some more content, some new content from me regarding health-related stuff. I'm going to start to touch on that a little bit as well, because that's something that God's put on my heart. It's something I'm called to talk about, and I think it'll really bless you. It's very important to take care of your health. It changes the way you look at life. It really, health is wealth. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Once you get to a certain point, if you're beyond repair, you're not going to enjoy your life. You know, you got to have your health. It's invaluable. You cannot buy it. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Hope you are blessed. And remember, we are children of the Most High God. So whatever you do, please be royal.